My name is Sanjay Nagmangalam, and I'm a product manager in the marketing cloud team. And today I wanted to, tell you a bit about getting started with API integrations with Marketing Cloud. Right? Simple agenda, um, three-part agenda. I'll basically walk you through the various ways that developers and ISVs and partners can integrate and extend Marketing Cloud. And I'll jump right into demos, right? I mean, I'll show you a couple of demos to essentially walk you through the experience and see how easy or difficult it is. And finally, I'll point you to some resources for further learning, pointers, and stuff like that. Okay. Before I get started, of course, have gentle reminder, make your purchasing decisions based on what's available in the product today. What I'm showing you now in this demo is already available in the product, but this is a gentle reminder anyways. So let's move right along. So if you look at this picture, take a look at the picture on the left. Think of the picture on the left as a high-level block diagram of Marketing Cloud, right? And what I've tried to do is I've tried to outline or identify the various places in Marketing Cloud where you can extend or integrate. So let's start from the top. At the very top, Marketing Cloud actually allows you to integrate your externally hosted web apps within the Marketing Cloud UI, within an iframe. And I'll show you a demo of that. Going further down, number two is we have a rich set of APIs and SDKs. We have both SOAP and REST APIs, and we have SDKs in 6 languages. And developers and system integrators can go use that as well. In fact, apps that are hosted within an iframe in Marketing Cloud can actually call those APIs. So I'll show you how. So that red box there is going to be the focus of my demo today. Moving further down, Marketing Cloud has this notion of journeys, journey builder. ISVs and partners can actually extend Journey Builder with custom activities. And further down, Marketing Cloud actually is very, very good at providing personalized content to your customers at scale. And you can do this in a variety of ways. I've spoken about a few ways in number 4. You can use things like the Content Block SDK. You can use things like AMP script, server-side JavaScript, and so on and so forth to dynamically render content. And lastly, Marketing Cloud has a very rich data model, right? And you can use the data model as is, or you can extend it via data extensions. In fact, in my demo today, I'll give you a sneak peek at how you could go about using data extensions. Cool? So with that context, let me actually jump in right into demos, right? And I'll show you some code. So what I'm trying to do here is I'll show you a couple of demos. My goal here is to create an app, a Node.js app in this case. It could be Java or C# or whatever else as well. And what this app is going to do is it's going to take some sample data and try and load it into Marketing Cloud. That's what it's going to do. I have 2 incarnations of this demo, if you will. The first one is a standalone app that's going to run on my laptop. And the second one is I'm going to show you the same app hosted within the Marketing Cloud UI, right? So let me switch context here, get rid of this guy, and go back to my app. OK, so the demo I'm going to show you, the source code for the demo is available on my GitHub repo. So, I figured I'd do this because many people like to copy, paste, tweak, and reuse. So go for it. I have links to this as well later. So it's all up there with the steps on what to do, how to set up, and all that good stuff. All right. So I have that app, the Node.js app, sitting on my laptop, and Node app, so I'm going to go run it. And it's running on my local host, so that's good. And what I'll do is I'll get rid of this guy. And before I actually spin up and run the demo, I kind of want to show you a couple of things in Marketing Cloud itself, right, to kind of set context. So I'm in the Marketing Cloud UI, and essentially, any app or any piece of code that wants to call REST APIs or SOAP APIs or integrate with Marketing Cloud does so via this thing called an installed package, right? Now, for the purposes of this demo, I've actually created an installed package. Creating one is very easy. You simply go to the admin section, go to installed packages, and create one. Give it a name and a description like I've done here. Once I have an installed package, right, I mean, you could actually decide whether you want a Marketing Cloud app, that's one of my demos, You could also choose if you want custom journey builder extension or a content SDK, or in this case, an API integration. So essentially what I have here is a Marketing Cloud app that happens to have an API integration. Now the beauty about this API integration is, well, like pretty much every cloud service on the planet, to call it, you need an API key, right? Marketing Cloud's API key essentially comes in two parts, the client ID and the client secret. Our standard guidance is these are secrets, so guard them with your life like any other secret. Don't put them in code, put them in config, environment variables, and such. So what I've done is I've taken that client ID and secret, and I've already put it in environment variables on my laptop for my demo to run, right? The second thing I wanted to show you was you can choose when you create your API integration component, you can choose what permissions it has. In this case, I've given it read and write data extension permissions. It's got a pretty rich set of permissions. You can choose what you want. Again, best practice here is the principle of least privilege. Give only as much access as you need to, not more. The second thing I wanted to show you was the Marketing Cloud app itself. So when I created this app, what I did was I gave it a name, I gave it a description, and then I gave it these 3 URLs, right? I gave it a login URL, I gave it a redirect URL, and I gave it a logout URL. And I'll tell you more about it when I come to it. Just keep this in mind, push it on the stack for now. All right. One more thing I wanted to show you before I start running the demo, which is, see, the goal of my demo is take sample data, squirrel it away into a data extension. So let's go look at what this data extension thingy looks like. I'll go back to email. And a minute. Come on. Okay, much better. I'll go to subscribers, and I'll go to data extensions here. Okay, so for the purpose of this demo again, I've created a data extension. Now, new concept, right? I mean, for those of you who are not familiar with data extensions, what is it anyways? Think of a data extension as a relational table that lives in Marketing Cloud. It's got columns, it's got rows. And when you have columns, you can give it a data type. So that's what I did here. Essentially, my data extension has 4 columns, 4 fields. I can decide what types they are, right? I mean, name is text, for example. A created DTS is a date type. And I've also said my ID is a primary key, right? The other thing I've done is I've specified an external key for this data extension. And this external key provides the linkage from the caller, from the client, to the data extension. And I'll show you that too in a minute, right? So these are properties. I can also look at records in the data extension. Remember, relational table, sort of. No records here yet. So the hope is when I run my demo, hopefully some rows will magically appear here, right? So that's the idea. All right. So with all that context, let me spin up the demo. My demo is running on localhost, so I can actually start it. All right. So this is the demo running now. So the act of loading sample data into a data extension, 4-step process, easy peasy. I create a data extension first, which I've already done, like the one I showed you. Then I get an API key. And I showed you that I got the API key, the client ID and client secret, and I've put it in my environment variable. So step 1, step 2, done. Step 3, new concept, get an OAuth access token. Now what this OAuth access token is it lets the caller authenticate REST API calls with Marketing Cloud. How do I get one of these OAuth access tokens? Well, turns out we have a request token endpoint. And you essentially do a post to the request token endpoint. And what do you give it? That client ID and client secret from my environment variables. So when I do a post to that endpoint with my client ID and secret in the JSON body, I get back an OAuth token. Now, the demo actually is capable of making post calls. You can take this body, paste it into your favorite tool like Postman, run it. But in this case, I'm just going to click exec request. Just so much easier. So that's what happened. It did a post on that endpoint with my client ID and secret, and it got back this access token, gobbledygook. Just store it away. You're going to use it within calls. And it's valid for about an hour since you called it, right? So after every hour, you're going to have to refresh it. Cool. I've got an access token. Once I have an access token, I can actually use it to perform my REST API call. And there is a REST endpoint that Marketing Cloud has to put data into data extensions. That's the data events REST API. And remember this guy, the external key that I showed you earlier? That's what I pass in the URL. So this is what tells Marketing Cloud, when I do a post to this endpoint, take the data I'm giving you in the JSON body and put it in that data extension, right? In this case, I'm kind of manufacturing this data. It's random. You could imagine this data came from a CSV file or some other external data source, if you so wish. I'm putting 2 records here. So, like before, let me just go hit execute request. Marketing Cloud says, yes, I did what you asked me. Let's actually go see if it did it. Let's switch back to Marketing Cloud, go back to my data extension, go back to records, and there you see. Those 2 records were inserted as part of that demo running, right? So an end-to-end scenario, very, very simple, right? So that said, let me switch context a little bit. What if, this is a runaway success of an app, top 5 charts and everything. Your customers say, hey, you know what? I really don't want to run it on localhost, or I don't want to run it standalone. Can you give me this experience within the Marketing Cloud UI, right? And short answer, yes. And I'll show you how. So remember that Marketing Cloud app that I added, and I gave it a name. Because I gave that a name, it shows up here, right within the Marketing Cloud UI. So to launch it, I simply click it, and same app, it's still running on localhost, but Marketing Cloud hosts this app within the Marketing Cloud UI. So I'm inside Marketing Cloud now, right? Same 4-step process. Create a data extension, I've already done that. Get the API key, done that too. Get a refresh token. So this is a new concept. What is a refresh token? Remember I was telling you about that login endpoint that I specified in the Marketing Cloud app? So what Marketing Cloud does is when the app launches within the iframe, Marketing Cloud does a post to that login endpoint with what is called a JWT, a JSON Web Token. And that's what this thing looks like, the JSON Web Token. It's an industry standard, right? And it's encoded. And the app actually has a secret that you can use on the client to decode it. So the app's done all this. The demo app's done all this. Source code is available for you to copy, paste, pirate, pillage. It's given me a number of properties in that JSON Web Token. An interesting one is this thing called refresh token. So this is what Marketing Cloud passed me, saying, hey, Marketing Cloud app, here's your refresh token. What do you do with the refresh token? Get an OAuth token from it, right? So just like the demo before, this time I'm going to go use the refresh token to get an OAuth token. And why do I need an OAuth token? To call my REST endpoint to load data. So let's go there. Same endpoint as before, the REST endpoint. But in this case, I'm passing it the client ID, the client secret, and the refresh token that I got in the JWT, right? So I'll hit exec request. OK. I'll hit exec request again. OK. Let me go back to my data extension and see what happened. Oh, there it is. Records, 4 records, right? So the last 2 records were inserted into the system, into the data extension from the app running within Marketing Cloud, right? So quick switch back to the PowerPoint. So before I go there, I'm sure you're itching to learn more, lots more. So what we've done is we've created this Marketing Cloud Developer Center just for you guys, right? And this essentially walks you or takes you through the journey of discovering and starting to build various pointers to docs and samples. How do you go get the API key and all that goodness? We also have pointers to our tools, to our APIs, to our SDKs, and it helps you dive deeper on all those extension points that I showed you in that picture originally. So I would encourage you to go take a look at it. Back to my PowerPoint. OK, so quickly recap. 2 demos. Took sample data, loaded it into a data extension in 2 different ways. Lots of resources. The Marketing Cloud Developer Center is up there. And I have a ton of resources. I have a pointer to my GitHub repo, right, for you to take a look at, and all of the APIs and SDK documentation. So in terms of next steps, I actually would like to leave you with 3 pieces of homework, right? The first piece of homework, check out the Marketing Cloud Developer Center. The second piece of homework, we invite you to the developer keynote later today, right, to come learn, build apps of the future. And the third, give us feedback, right? Your feedback makes sessions like these and others better. That's it. That's all I had. Thank you very much.